I will take hold of my own country. That's Griffith's ultimate dream, right? But it is really just that. Goodson said that getting his own country is just another stepping stone on his path. He wants to soar even higher. That's the Falcon. That's Griffith. So, okay, does he just want to be the ruler of everything? Then why would he kidnap Casca? Why didn't he kill Guts during the countless opportunities he had before and after the rebirth? And why spare Rickard, who literally slapped him right from his new band? Hasn't he technically already achieved his dream? Well, I would say no, it's not just that. And after the chapter 386, I think I've built a much solid idea of what Griffith is actually after. He wants his kingdom, his quote-unquote kingdom of God on earth, and that includes those specific people. So instead of Guts being an obstacle like before, today he's part of the dream itself.
Be my husband. What's my name?
And I can't help but feel that beyond the feelings of the boy, of the child inside him, there are still leftover feelings towards Guts. I mean, he kidnapped Casca because of the child, probably, because he wants to protect her. But what if he's using her, maybe by knowing about this rebirth of Guts, he attracts him to conquer him once again. And look, I'm not even trying to push here to talk about the homosexuality. Honestly, in this context, I don't even think it necessarily matters. What matters now for this discussion is to talk about those feelings and about this mix of the human and the divine, of Apollo, order, logic, reason versus Dionysus, instinct, chaos, emotion, and the tragic history shared between those two types of people. Maybe Griffith's ultimate goal is to become the one true God of this world, of all realms, of all creatures, even the Godhead. We're gonna talk about this later. Not just by capturing lands physically, but by capturing love and adoration from everyone. Again, maybe instead of Guts making Griffith forget his dream, he's actually part of it now. After all, as Casca said back in the Golden Age, those words, "I want you," he had never used it to anyone else. Today I want to talk about Griffith's dream, this feeling that I love to hate, and how, in my view, his dream has layers, but still the same. I want to share my theories on how Griffith might be trying to emulate the biblical God in the worst way possible, of course, and he's been doing this for a long time. He wants everyone's heart on the palm of his hand. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe if you want to help me keep making content. One of the most revealing moments about Griffith to me is when he is still locked up in the dungeon of Midland. He's reflecting about his own dream. When Griffith was a child, he and his friends started playing a game, playing war against the other kids, and winning gave them a bit of prestige. The little booty they planted shone like gold, as he said. And back in the alleys, where the bordels and the taverns blended together, the sunlight never reached Griffith's eyes until he looked up, and then he saw the most brightest, the most colorful thing, touched by the light of the sun. The castle. It was from that childhood desire that his journey began, his game began. Griffith is still the same. But then something flashed even brighter in Griffith's eyes, so bright that he described it like thunder, so bright that made his eyes hurt. Guts. And he asked himself, when Guts decided to leave, he had Guts right in the palm of his hand. The one who put me into the darkness is also the one who's keeping me alive. Now, as I mentioned before in my previous video, it's been clear for me that from the start of the story, Guts and Griffith is walking parallel paths. Of course, in Griffith's case, he will use the most vile methods to reach his goal. And don't get me wrong here, I don't even believe that Griffith deserves any kind of redemption, but I really love how the story plays around with these concepts of good and evil. It's been there from the beginning. Griffith is this beautiful, graceful figure who is actually the worst bastard of the whole time, and Guts, our good guy, is seen as a monster. And in the chapter 386, the cover opens with an illustration of Griffith and the phrase, "He will hold all within his hands. Further into the chapter, while Mute and Sonia are reporting there are resistant groups opposing Falconian's expansion, Griffiths then say that they're afraid that the flow of the time changes the world relentlessly, and that when anxiety takes over, it soon turns into fear and then to anger. And let's be honest here, the feeling that I got is that he's not just talking about the Christian soldiers, he is kinda giving Guts a little bit of shade, like a quote-unquote god who had great plans that his creations simply cannot comprehend. I don't know if you're following my line of thought here, but to me Muta was building Griffith as this false messiah, a messiah invented by himself, a profanation of what we understand as divinity, especially in the West. He even simulates the whole Trinity in Albion with Fento, the egg of the perfect world, and the body of the child. All of this together being part of the resurrected Griffith. And now, after these latest chapters, the dots finally connected in my head. He wants everything under his hands. He wants to subdue those who hate him, not just accept their defeat. He wants them to love him. He wants to be the god. He wants to be the only god. The Cushion soldiers that lose battles to the Band of the Hawk, he incorporates them into the army. He performs acts of charity. In the chapter that many people find boring, where Griffith is just playing politics, he literally sets up an orphanage and it's cool. He wants to educate all people. He wants to be painted as the good guy.
Be nice.
I'm finding it.
It take you that long to find it?
It does.
And in the chapter 335, when Bricket is in Falconia, Locus tells Rickard about the right to the throne being a calling from God that cannot be violated. Griffith doesn't want to be sized to the throne. He wants to be the legitimate king. The Pope has a supernatural vision. People had dreams about the Falcon before the rebirth, and Griffith puts on a spectacle by letting people say goodbye to the souls of the lost loved ones. He even gets engaged to the princess. Oh my god, he wants so much validation. He creates the calamity, then offers the cure. It's all a show. So much that the people who died because of him, because he was the one who released the demons and the fantastic beasts in this world. As Void reminds us in this latest chapter, Griffith was this one who created this cataclysm between the realms. And guess what? The only safe place in the whole world, Falconia. At the same time he performed these spirit shows, he maintains a horde of demons in his imperial army. The demons serve to him. This is precisely why Void and the rest of the Godhand confront him, because he was starting to believe his own lie too much. And what can I say? Griffith managed to enchant people so deeply that even when I joined this Berserk community back in my 15 years old, I've seen people who genuinely love Griffith, and I was horrified when I realized that people actually agreed with the Griffith did nothing wrong phrase. Oh my god. But all of this splendor of Griffith can be explained. Griffith is a character that was designed to be ambiguous, from his appearance to what he says to how he acts. And back to Locus, he provokes Rickard, saying that he came to Falconia because he was never able to completely hate Griffith, that there was an abyss between what he knew and what he felt. Like in many classic works in the pop culture in general, evil disguises itself as beauty to enchant. And Griffith is no different. He wants to bring peace through the hell. And he deceives massively to the point where the soldiers, the one who died because of him, they don't even fear death anymore because they know they're gonna say goodbye to the family. Locus continues saying that no earthly king could never hoped to establish such a harsh utopia. But when Rickard meets Griffith and looks into his eyes, he remembers the ones he lost. He sees who Griffith really is, and he rejects him. As much as this slap scene has become a meme in the internet, I was there when this chapter released. This has a massive importance. Here is a human who isn't even strong like us, who doesn't even have weapons to defend himself, yet he refuses to share Griffith's dream once again. It's a visual rhyme to what was already happening, people standing up against Griffith, from the cushion groups going after Falconia expansion to what, most importantly, Guts himself. So again, what does Griffith want? He wants the kingdom of the false god on Earth, and he wants Guts too. Now, of course, this is just my analysis and my theories. A lot of the fandom believes that after becoming Femto, Griffith no longer holds any human emotion and that any affections comes strictly by the kid's body. And to be honest, this makes sense actually. I confess I'm being a bit more passionate here. I like to think that it might still be some of his own feelings in there, because I'd love for him to finally have to face his own emotions leading to his downfall. After all, this is the first time we see the God Hand going against Griffith. And why is that? Could it be because his plan is to become the solo god and maybe even get rid of them? Guts himself said he hasn't changed, he remains the same. Griffith was never satisfied only by looking to the castle from far away. He wants the throne, he wants the only throne, he wants to be the one true god. Thanks for watching, see you next time.